Allegations of widespread cyber attacks stacking up against China. New Zealand, the latest to join the United States and the UK, both of whom have accused Beijing of a sweeping counter-espionage campaign. China says that it's issued a strong complaint to Washington and relevant parties, slamming them for, quote, political manoeuvring. Now, according to New Zealand, its Communications Security Bureau had established links between Advanced Persistent Threat 40, or APT-40, that's an alleged Chinese state-sponsored actor, with malicious activity targeting the country's parliamentary services. Now, it says that the group had gained access to important information. The government has since raised its concerns with Beijing, with New Zealand's Foreign Minister and Deputy Prime Minister Winston Peters calling such interference unacceptable. The US and UK have gone one step further, imposing sanctions after identifying another so-called Chinese unit known as APT-31 for a series of cyber breaches in the last decade or so. They're alleged to have sent more than 10,000 malicious emails to US politicians, journalists, companies, among many others. The UK says that the same group targeted its Electoral Commission and parliamentary accounts, including lawmakers critical of China. For more on this story, we're joined now by our correspondents Ollie Barrett and Olivia Seong. Let's head over to Ollie Barrett first. He's standing by in London. Ollie, China has accused the United Kingdom of presenting evidence that is described as insufficient. Give us the details of Britain's case.
Well, Dawn, much of the information that the UK government has been setting out has come via a group called the Defending Democracy Task Force, which is a committee that looks into all sorts of different types and potential types of threats to elections and electoral processes here in the UK. And that is described by the UK government as pinpointing China-affiliated organisations as being responsible. It was Oliver Dowden, the Deputy Prime Minister, who set out the accusation of China's involvement, saying that the UK could now confirm, in his words, Chinese involvement. But looking in a bit more depth at what the UK has set out so far, in the statement that we've had from the UK government, it talks about the National Cybersecurity Centre assessing that attack on the Electoral Commission systems was, in the words of the UK government, highly likely compromised by a Chinese state-affiliated entity. It goes on to say that the UK believes it is almost certain that APT-31 China state-affiliated group was conducting reconnaissance activity against some UK parliamentarians. So you'll see that there are various different levels of certainty in what the UK government is able to set out in terms of its claims at the moment. The Chinese embassy here in London has denied all of these allegations. A group of Conservative MPs are calling on the UK government now, though, to go further than the sanctions that were set out on Monday. It wants the UK government to designate China as a threat to the UK's national security. If that were to be the direction that the UK government moved in, that would potentially lead to a significant hit for London-Beijing relations. The Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, we know, has been trying to encourage investment and economic ties between Beijing and London. That would get significantly harder were relations to deteriorate further.
It would certainly be a tough hit to ties. Ollie, thank you for that. Ollie Barrett, live for us in London.
Let's go to CNA's Olivia Seong. She joins us live from Beijing. Olivia, we're just hearing from Ollie there, a tough hit possibly to ties between China and the UK. Now, China accusing the US and UK of politicizing cyber security. Of course, now any issue, whether trade, diplomacy, territorial disputes, even here in the South China Sea, all that potential to further upset ties between Beijing and the US and its allies. Could this have further impact, and another factor that could be adding to difficulty between all these parties enjoying better ties? Well, basically, China is certainly making its unhappiness over these latest developments known. It says it firmly opposes the move and that it will take necessary measures to safeguard its rights, although we have to note that it hasn't stated exactly how it intends to act moving forward. But we heard, as Ollie had mentioned there, from the Chinese embassy in the UK. We also heard from the embassies in the US and New Zealand refuting these allegations. And at the Chinese Foreign Ministry's daily briefing here in Beijing, the spokesperson answered several questions on this, in which he said that China has responded to the information submitted by the UK, which he said showed that there was inadequate evidence of these allegations by the UK, accusing the US and the UK of hyping up, in his words, the alleged China cyber attacks. Now, the spokesperson also framed these latest developments as part of an ongoing attempt by the US and its partners, specifically naming the Five Eyes alliance, of spreading what he said was disinformation about threats posed by Chinese hackers, also accusing the countries of doing this for geopolitical purposes. Have a listen.
中方对此强烈不满，坚决反对，已向相关方面提出严正交涉。我们敦促美方和英方停止将网络安全问题政治化，停止对中国的污蔑抹黑和单边制裁，停止对中国的网络攻击行为。中方将采取必要措施，坚决维护自身的合法权益。
Well, Wei-Su, back to your question on how this may affect overall ties between China and the US and China and the UK, given the improvements that we have seen in recent times. Observers have said that all parties are likely to want to work towards stability, but this may throw a spanner in the works. We also, however, note that the tensions over intelligence-related issues are not exactly new, as the US and its partners have publicly called out countries over cyber operations, including China. But China, on its part, saying that the US and the UK have turned a blind eye to what it says have been their cyber attacks on China. Wei-Su.
And thanks to Olivia Xiong reporting live to us there from Beijing.